Ich lese aus den Briefen an die Korinther, Kapitel 3, Vers 10 bis 15. Nach Gottes Gnade, die mir gegeben ist, habe ich den Grund gelegt als ein weiser Baumeister. Ein anderer baut darauf. Ein jeder aber sehe zu, wie er darauf baut. Einen anderen Grund kann niemand legen, außer dem, der gelegt ist, welcher ist Jesus Christus. Wenn aber jemand auf den Grund baut, Gold, Silber, Edelsteine, Holz, Heu, Stroh, so wird das Werk eines jeden offenbar werden. Der Tag des Gerichts wird es ans Licht bringen, denn mit Feuer wird er sich offenbaren. Und von welcher Art eines jeden Werk ist, wird das Feuer erweisen. Wird jemandes Werk bleiben, das er darauf gebaut hat, so wird er Lohn empfangen. Wird aber jemandes Werk verbrennen, so wird er Schaden leiden. Er selbst aber wird gerettet werden, doch so wie durchs Feuer hindurch.
Dear congregation, it seems like fall is here. Soon we will be celebrating Thanksgiving and Erntedank, but for now I want you one last time to take you away with me into the warm feel of the summer season. Imagine this. A girl builds a sandcastle by the sea. Small towers, hollows and walls, a stick as the flag. Finally, the castle is finished. She walks around it and admires her work and thinks, yeah, I did a pretty good job here. She's proud about what she created. But the tide doesn't wait forever. The waves come and they slowly start to lick at the walls, and first timidly, but then stronger, and then they spill over them and tear them down, washing all around the tower. Finally, only a few shallow mounds remain, and then there's nothing left to see. The little girl is flabbergasted, also a little disappointed. She had put so much effort into this, apparently in vain. But she also feels amazed and gained a new respect for the incredible and mysterious might of the sea. Since we have some experts among us today, I just wanted to ask you children, who of you did ever build a sandcastle before? Yeah? Have you done it? So, what materials did you use to build your castle? Sand and water? Uh-huh. Okay. Would there be anything else that you could use? What could you find on the seashore or at the beach? What can you find there? Shells, yeah. Yeah. And sometimes also like driftwood, right? That's coming from the sea, like a small twig, or sometimes it's a bigger log. There's a lot sometimes on the beach that you can use to build a castle like this. And I wonder, like, if children do this, because they do it more than once, I did it, I know it, I wasn't discouraged by my first experience, to kind of experience a lesson of life that we also know later, that we find something on the beach of our lives to create our life with, and that we are encouraged to build something beautiful, but also now and again it seems like something is taken away, or it's not as has not as much stability as we would like. We put an immense effort into what we are building, but we can never be sure what happens. And so, as the years go by, it is a very natural process that slowly but steadily our success at work, our health, our strength, they become also different. They change or are also worn away by the tides of life. And so I want you to imagine with me again this girl from the beginning that has now finally become an older lady. She now returns to her vacation spot and sits down at the same spot where she built that sandcastle. She watches the waves coming and going. She grabs a handful of sand and lets it trickle through her fingers. And she remembers that she used it to build, but also that sometimes she had to let go. And yet she has never stopped building. And she wonders, what does remain? Suddenly she feels someone is sitting down beside her. She doesn't know who he is, but there's a calmness and a friendliness that emanate from him that reassure her and do her good. And together they sit and they watch at the sea. It is as if without words he can understand her thoughts and feelings. He feels her disappointment about what has been washed away. But he also appreciates the beauty and the accomplishment in all her works and the pride in her trying again to get up and to build something new. He cherishes her amazement at what could only emerge because something else had gone before and was no longer there to stop her. Then she notices that the man has a shovel with him, and he starts digging. She doesn't understand why at first. After he has dug quite deep where her sandcastle once stood, he beckons her to come closer, to take a look. She slowly stands up and walks over to him. She looks and sees, under all that sand, there is a solid rock. Not only a little stone, there's a huge amount of rocky ground underneath the beach. And she sees that even though sometimes it felt different, this rock has always been there, supporting every castle that she has ever built. And no wave, no turf, no storm can ever harm it. He smiles pensively and says, "No one can lay a foundation other than the one laid in Jesus Christ." That is the last sentence I borrowed from the reading we just heard from Paul, because he also plays with this building metaphor in his letter, and he's trying to show his believers something. And that is, it doesn't matter which material we use, if we have sand or shells or driftwood or perhaps just a flingy net or something, this foundation is important, and the foundation is supposed to be Jesus. And that is what you told me when we talked this week. You want to happen for Evelyn and for Peyton, of course, as well, that they have this foundation, that no matter what happens in their life, that they know that they are carried, that they are supported, like from under the ground they are walking on is support. And of course, a main part of that is you guys and your family and the friends that help you to guide them. But I also want you to remember on this special day that this foundation is Jesus Christ, and that he will never leave your children and will carry them through whatever they are building and whatever ideas they have of being creative and building something for them in their lives. And the same goes true for everybody here today. This foundation is what matters. And if you ask yourself, what is this foundation like, or how does it look? For me, that is the confidence that we are loved and held, no matter what we experience. And that is the reason why we can faithfully build and expand, plan and create. This trust that God will stick with us through all that we may lose in the process. And trusting him, that means that nothing can separate us from the solid ground of his love. And his mercy, it goes beyond our failures and our temporary nature of being. The tide is coming, that much is certain. But just as certain is God's love and his caring for us. And that's why Evelyn's baptismal motto today feels like a chorus to the verse that Paul wrote, because it says, "Be strong like a rock. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." And when you look at the story that's behind this verse, it's actually very interesting, because Joshua is about to have a very major managing task for a whole people, like the people of Israel. He has a lot of work to do. And in this passage, he's encouraged by God, not only this one time, but 3 times. God tells him, be courageous, be strong. I know it's tough, but I believe in you and I'm with you. And so I think there's a lot of wisdom of life in these words, because somebody knew that sometimes you need a lot of encouragement to do something. And thus, I fathom, we are encouraged also to bravely continue to build our sandcastles in all their ephemeral beauty. Trusting in His love, let us take up the scoop on the beach of our lives, trusting that the rock will carry us and hold us and support us today and forever. And the peace of God, which transcends all our understanding, will guard our hearts and minds in Jesus Christ. Amen.